What's up guys? Today I've got something that I'm really excited about. I'm going to be unboxing the DJI RS4 Mini Combo, and this is a gimbal that I picked up for my camera, primarily my Sony FX30, and I actually picked it up yesterday. So it cost me 495 bucks, and you can find it for cheaper, but I wanted to get it the same day in hand. You know, I'm pretty impatient, so I don't like waiting for things. And there's a couple of reasons why I got this, but I'll explain those as I go through the unboxing. So first up, this is the combo. So I'll talk more about what that means and what it includes. But if we just look through the box here, you can see nice picture on the front, some licensing information on the bottom, on the back, just a different picture, on the side a logo, and then this side, in kind of smaller print, it actually tells you what's in the box. So it tells you there's a gimbal, there's the intelligent tracking module, which is essentially just a camera that goes on. Then it comes with the briefcase handle, a tripod, charger, quick release plate, screw kit, and then L-shaped camera control cable. So all in all, this is going to be perfect for what 99% of creators, YouTubers, people who just make content are going to need. And this is going to have a lot of capabilities. So let's just get into the unboxing. And looks like we're going to need to cut some of this. So I use my big Rambo knife. And so now that we've got that open, pull everything out. Okay, so there we have it, the empty box. Put that to the side. So we have our gimbal and then two other boxes. So just unwrap this. Again, use my handy knife. And honestly, I don't worry about being too gentle with this because this actually is a heavy-duty piece of equipment. Like, obviously you don't want to throw it around or drop it or anything unnecessary, but really it's tough and it can stand most of what it's going to go through. Like, it's built to last and survive. Okay, so this was just a spacer box, which means that this will have our cables and our instruction and our accessories. So here we have the mounting plate and the slider. This is our tripod. This is a cable. And this is our briefcase handle. Then this is our licensing and quick start guide instructions. Just a couple more things. So here's our tracking module. Here's some screws. And then another screw. This is our angled cable. And that is that. So I'll throw these back in the box here, just to get them out of the way. And I'm really excited for this. So I'm no videography expert, but I really felt like I could use a gimbal. I thought that that was going to be useful for me because honestly, on my camera, I have built-in stability. I think there's like a 5-axis or 6-point stability on the Sony FX30. And then I also have a steady shot lens, but it just wasn't giving me the smoothness that I wanted to see. And the beautiful thing about a gimbal is you can actually control the speed, so you can feather into the shots and out. But before I keep on talking about that, let's just kind of overview each of these. So I'll open it and then start putting it together. So this particular gimbal has a weight capacity of 4.4 pounds. And when you get down to it, That's not very much weight, but generally that's going to work for the equipment that you're seeing most people run. If you're having a monitor or something, you're going to have to find a different place to attach it. And there's actually ways to mount your monitor onto the handle so that your camera can still move freely. But generally, you're going to be limited to a camera, a lens, and maybe a cage, maybe a small microphone end. So there's our tracking module. And before I did go and buy this, I did weigh my camera setup, and mine weighed in at 2.5 pounds, which is pretty standard for what you would get. You know, it's an FX30, so it's not a full frame sensor, but it is essentially a full frame sized camera. It's not a small camera, and it's not a light camera either, with all the hardware and the fan and everything. So just a couple more things to open here. Okay, so normally it would be set up and you'd have your tripod screwed in on the bottom, and that's good because then you have somewhere to stand it, but it also can give you an extra handhold. So there's with the tripod, and then I can go ahead and unlock each of these axes. And one more. Okay. So now let's lock that in. So you'll notice that this is a 3-axis camera module, and so what that means is your camera can move in the 3 dimensions when these are unlocked, when it's powered on. So the first one, this top one, is the tilt. It's essentially just vertical up and down. Some people also call it the pitch. Then the second one right here is the roll. And so say that you have your tilt locked in, the roll can allow you to spin the camera all the way around, essentially doing a barrel roll. That's why we call it the roll. And then the one that everybody knows is your pan. And that would just be your left to right motion. Okay, so just go ahead and lock those in place. For the briefcase handle, it's very simple to use. There is just a turn screw to loosen it, and once it's loose enough, then it will be able to turn freely. And then it has these locking channels of teeth. Then you just tighten it back up, and so you can mount it however you need. The important thing about mounting it is there is this little foot on the shoe, and that little bumper right there is going to help keep this locked in. And so generally it's recommended that if the weight is going to be going down, you want this on the bottom so that it's impossible for this to slip out. Okay, so what that looks like is mounting it just like that. Obviously if I unlocked it. So there it is loose. Slide it in, tighten it up. And then I still have the freedom of moving the control arm however I need. There's also another mounting position for it. So there's a lot of customization that you can go through. And I don't anticipate on using this extra handle too much, since most of my gimbal work will be off of a tripod and it will just be tracking me. But whenever I'm making like orbiting shots, this is going to be really helpful just to get that extra steadiness, because there's really not too much grip space just doing the lollipop hold on the gimbal. Okay, so these, we'll see these in use later for the mounting plate and the slider. And the cables, get that out of the way. The screws, don't particularly need those. This is the thing that I'm really interested in. And this is going to be the biggest difference between just the standard package and the combo. So the standard is going to come with your gimbal, your mounting plates and everything. The combo comes with the tracking module and the briefcase handle. So briefcase handle, I already went over that. What's the tracking module? All that it is a little camera that has some tracking tech in it. So the tracking doesn't run through your camera lens. It doesn't run any autofocus or anything like that. It runs through this guy. And normally when you're rolling with it, you just clip it on there. There's magnetic clips and they just lock in. It's just very quick and easy to set on. And then this would be ready to be powered on and set to tracking. So there's a lot of features with this, and I could spend hours and hours going through all the different ways that you could use it, how to customize it, set it up, how to balance it. But I don't need to do that because a lot of guides have already been made. So honestly, one of my favorite guides, I'll put the link in the description below, but it's actually Jeb and Dovey's guide. It's over an hour long. That's a long time to be watching a video of someone using a gimbal and explaining how to use it. But he goes through everything that you need to know after you buy this gimbal. He talks about setting it up. He talks about balancing it. He talks about the different modes that you can turn it on, how you can customize like the trigger and the roll wheel. Everything that you need to know is going to be in his video or in comparable videos to his. And that would be my biggest piece of advice, is if you've made the $500 investment in a gimbal, which I think is a really good investment, you also need to invest in the education, which is watching the hour-long video. You have to study, you have to practice, and then going out and experimenting with it, setting it up, finding out what works best for you, what meets your specific video needs with a gimbal, and then just getting good at using stabilization. It really is an art, but having tracking, having steadiness, having that feathery smooth pan and tilt is unbelievable. It can take your content from just being ordinary and making it professional. And the better you get at it, the more dynamic your content is going to be. And dynamic is something that you hear a lot if you're in the whole world of making content and videography and cinematography. And dynamic really just means motion. And so having the ability to add smooth, clean motion is going to be super important. And nothing is going to get you better results than using a gimbal. It doesn't matter how steady your hands are, how smooth your walk is, a gimbal is just going to take you from 0 basically to 100 once you know how to use it. So all in all, I'm really excited to start using this gimbal, and generally speaking, I'll be running it off of my larger Manfrotto tripod since I can just screw in the base here. But if I ever do any table work or vlogging or anything like that, it has some excellent selfie modes. It's really highly customizable. And I think that this is the one tool that can fix about 1,000 different dilemmas and just adds a whole lot of creative freedom. I do have a couple of nitpicks for the DJI gimbal. One is the weight limit. I wish that they could just barely upgrade the servo motors, these brushless, axes, so that they had a little bit more weight capacity. I think 4.4 pounds, that is a good deal, right? That's reasonable, where most cameras are going to be 2.5 to 3 pounds with the lens and everything. But I would just feel a lot better knowing that I had that extra power. If I had a full, 5 pounds, even 5.5 pounds would be amazing. Just knowing that you have that speed and control, and you can account for using a bigger lens if you need to. The other thing that I don't particularly like is the size of the interface. So if you see here, this is actually a touchscreen. When I power it on, in fact, I wonder if it is charged at all. When I power this on, this touchscreen is tiny. You know, if you have big hands, big fingers, it's a little bit hard to scroll through the menu to be able to set everything up. It's really, in my opinion, less than ideal. And so I just wish that the interface could be bigger, but I see that they want to fit it all into one small packable unit. And that's what they've successfully done. You know, once you fold this up, it gets incredibly small. So, you know, look at this. You can fit this in a backpack. It could go in a laptop sleeve. Like, you could take this on an airplane. It gets incredibly small, so it can go with you wherever you're gonna need it. And honestly, it really is just a fantastic piece of equipment. Those are my only gripes, is I wish it was a little more powerful. I wish it had that higher weight capacity, and I wish it had a larger touchscreen. Beyond that, this is absolutely perfect. This is one of DJI's best products. I think anyone who does anything with video, especially dynamic video, needs to have this. So 10 out of 10 would recommend, and I'm really looking forward to using my DJI RS4 Mini Combo. What a mouthful, right? But this is really one of the best gimbals out there. And for close to 500 bucks, this is also some of the best value that you can possibly find. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Also leave some comments. I'll respond to all of them, I guarantee it.